The Living Zen-podcast is a gift from the members and associates of the Victoria Zen Centre to you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to let your friends know about Living Zen. If you'd like to support our community, download the Living Zen-podcast app for iPod, iPhone, and Android. One of the most meaningful ways to show your support is by becoming a part of our Sangha as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen podcast and our online e-Zendo will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at zenwest.ca and click on Become an Associate. Many more Zen Talks are available for purchase on iTunes and Amazon.com. Just search for Venerable Eshu Martin. These talks are also available for free on our website to all members and associates of the Victoria Zen Centre. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. Earlier today, I had a conversation with a person who comes and participates with us on occasion. And they asked really some great questions that I thought I'd like to bring up this evening. When we first come to take up this practice of zazen, or seated meditation, dissolution, the first aim of our practice is developing or opening ourselves up to this fundamental awareness. It's really a simple, straightforward thing that we set out to do when we sit, which is to just simply be present in the room while we're sitting here and breathing. We've been sitting for just about 15 minutes, and I think for everybody, it's pretty easy to notice that in this period of seated meditation, we're actually present. We're actually here in this room with our breaths and the sounds and the smells and the physical sensations of this space for just 5% of the time maybe. And then the rest of the time that we sit here, we're off making lists and thinking about the day we had, or something somebody said to us, or what we're going to eat later, or what we're going to do tomorrow. And then for a moment right, I'm supposed to be sitting here being present with my breath. And again, we come back before we launch again. As we continue to practice, we find that we become more and more aware, not only during our periods of seated meditation, but more and more throughout the many different aspects of our lives, whether we're doing the dishes or riding our bikes, just going through our day-to-day business, even in conversation. We have these moments of being aware, of being present, engaged wholeheartedly in the activity that we're doing. And this sounds like a very small thing. But as we become more and more familiar with it, we realize that it's not such a small thing. Because what happens when we are present in our lives is that we're aware of the things that we're getting caught up in. We're aware of the things that we get tripped up by, the obstacles that we place in our own way, the difficulties that we create for ourselves and others. And this simple, fundamental awareness inspires us, moves us to transform, to change the way that we're living. Often, until this sort of sense of awareness develops, we live our lives largely as a matter of habit. We respond in the way that we've always responded, perhaps the way that our parents responded. Or, if we're particularly rebellious, perhaps the opposite way from how our parents, teachers, the people around us have responded. But nonetheless, it's fairly rote. It's habitual. Our habits span every aspect of our lives: work, recreation, relationship. And often in our lives, there's never any questioning of this. There's never any option in how we respond. When we begin to give rise or open up to this awareness, stepping into the unfolding activity of our lives, we begin to become more and more aware that there are more ways of doing this. That this way that I'm engaging in my life right now isn't the only way that I can do this. This is wonderful. Or at least it sounds wonderful. But just like taking a child into a toy store and saying, pick a toy. We're going to be there for hours because the options are limitless. So this situation arises and we say, this way that I've always responded it doesn't work. It causes difficulty for myself and for others. I need to do something else. But what? And it's that what, that sort of vacuous spaciousness that arises in our lives that can sometimes be scary. The limitless unknown. And so for many of us, when we face this tremendous unknown, even if it's the possibility of something better, something more harmonious, something more beneficial to ourselves and to everyone in our lives, because it lives in the realm of the unknown, we're scared. And so for some time, we continue to just follow the habit. Because although it's difficult, and we know it causes difficulty, it's safe. We're familiar with the difficulty. We can travel around, loop around in this sort of cycle of seeing that there is potential for a new way, and yet not stepping out, not clearly manifesting in a new way, trying new things, different ways of being. And this is kind of a real sort of landmark or checkpoint in our practice. So the question becomes, when I find myself in this position of wanting to change, but not knowing what to do, how do I go forward? One of the real difficulties is that as we develop insight, we are surrounded by situations and circumstances and relationships that really identify themselves by how we respond. So we're constantly having our habitual patterns, our habitual responses reinforced. If we're in a relationship and our partner says, hey, how about this? And we always respond in the same way. Then responding differently isn't just a simple matter, because it changes everything. There's weight. So, the Buddha proposed that to really dig in, to really get the most out of your practice, to really engage in this path of awakening, transformation, to manifest as an awakened being, there are three supports that we can search for, make relationship with, and rely on. And in Buddhism, these are called the three treasures. And they're most often formulated as Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And we can get into sort of the historical, philosophical understanding of these. The Buddha, but I'm not going to. I want to talk about the practicality of it. The first one, the Buddha, represents, or the word Buddha means the one who is awake. So the first treasure is that it's recommended that we come into relationship, we find a person who can help to guide us. Now, our tendency is to look for somebody who's perfect. Somebody who is completely without flaw. And if we do this, I think we can look around for a long time without finding anybody. In Japanese, there is this word sensei, which is often translated as teacher. But its characters, the meaning of the word is the person who has gone before. So in practice, if we're looking for this treasure of Buddha, we are looking for somebody who is ethical, in whom we can develop a relationship of trust. Somebody who has experience in the particular practice or path that we want to engage in. The second treasure, or support, if you like, is the Dharma. This word Dharma means law or teaching. And in the context of developing a practice, it refers to the verbal teachings that the living teacher, living sensei, our guide, offers. But it also talks about the form, the container into which we enter for practice. What is the physical manifestation of this teaching in this place? It's important that we connect with a teaching that resonates with us. And it might be Buddhism, and it might be Christianity, and it might be Wicca. Could be anything. And even within those schools, it could be Tibetan Buddhism, or Zen Buddhism, or Lutheran Christianity, or Roman Catholicism, or I don't know so many schools of Wicca. But we have to find a teaching that resonates with us, and a teacher that we can trust. And the third one, the third support, the third treasure, this is the one that I think is the most, in many ways, the most important. And also, in many ways, it's the one that we spend the least time paying any attention to, the least time getting engaged with. And we always think, if I've got a good Buddha and there's good Dharma, then the Sangha, the community of awakening, isn't so important. I just go to the place and I do my meditation and I interact with my teacher, and that's enough. No, everybody knows the stories of the people who go to church on Sunday, go to the Zendo on the day of practice, and how they manifest in the meditation hall, how they manifest form in the context of form is quite different than how they manifest in their lives. When we're looking for a community of practice, it's important to understand that this is a relationship in which we are supported through the difficulties that inevitably arise through our practice. But it is also the place in which we support those others who are struggling with difficulties in their practice. It's a place where we can find friendship, kindred spirits, if you like, or as the traditional saying is, good friends along the way. We find people who are always calling us to awaken, to give rise to our greatest potential and to manifest clearly. A community in which we aren't judged, where we aren't put down. A community where where the space is opened up for us to experiment. A place is opened up that is safe and supportive for us to step outside of the comfortable, familiar, but fundamentally problematic habits that we all carry with us. A space into which we can fall flat on our face, where we will be supported as we stand back up and try again, with recognition that each and every person in our community, in our Sangha, is walking this path together. It's often struck me in this form that we sit beside one another. We're just coming back from Sesshin, our 5-day intensive, and a lot of difficult emotional stuff can come up. People cry in the zendo. People seethe with anger in the zendo. We don't jump up and try to comfort each other. The practice is to manifest wholeheartedly so that this presence of support is felt. We don't need to run away. We don't need to avoid. We don't need to step back. All we need to do in this practice is simply manifest clearly in this moment just as it is. The reason that I'm talking about this is that there are many people in this room for whom it's the first time, or maybe the 10th time. And I really hope that we engage in a practice together which transforms us as human beings, transforms our relationships, transforms how we walk through this world. But transformation is difficult. To really change, to break free of the weight of our habits, requires a great effort. And it's for this reason that the Buddha and all of the ancestors talk about this support, this threefold support, the three treasures of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. This Sunday we're having a ceremony here in this room where 6 of our members will be receiving the Sila, or the Buddhist precepts. And you're all invited to come. It's at 10 o'clock in the morning, Sunday. This is where we come together and you can see and feel and experience the strength of the 3 treasures. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.